So in the past few weeks, I've been in front of a camera way more than I have been in the past 6 months to a year. But for some reason, it made me really confused about how I actually look in real life. For some reason, I had this image of how I'm actually supposed to look based on pictures I've taken in the past or looking in the mirror every day like we all do. But for some reason, how I've looked on camera just feels entirely different from my perception of how I actually look. If you've been experiencing something like that in your own photos or in your own content, here's why that might be. So there's a number of things that can make you feel like you look worse in photos or you look worse in content compared to how you actually look in person or in the mirror. And the first is super important. Your appearance in the mirror is a reflection. Now I know that's ridiculous. Of course, everybody knows that you're just looking at a reflection of yourself in the mirror. But what a lot of people don't recognize a lot of the time is that, yes, that is a reflection, but it is not exactly how you look to other people. It's how you look to yourself because it's reflecting. If you were to part your hair to the left in the mirror, it'll look like it's going to the right, but to other people, it'll look like the left. And so that's something that is really important to remember. You get used to how you look in the mirror, and then you don't recognize that you don't actually look exactly the same. You're just flipped. And so when you take a picture, sometimes it looks weird because it's not what you see in the mirror. But that doesn't mean it looks bad. It just looks different to you. So it's a contrasting thing to you. This is super common. It's not anything to be super concerned about. You don't actually look worse in real life than you think you do. You just look different to what you think you're supposed to. That doesn't mean you actually look bad or you look worse than normal or anything like that. Probably most of the time people aren't even going to notice because that's how you normally look on a day-to-day basis. But just because you think it may look bad, it probably doesn't. The second thing you need to remember, especially for content like YouTube videos, any type of wide angle shot content, is that anything you shoot on wide angle, like your phone's camera or a wide angle lens, that can really distort how you look. So people with more angular or flat faces are going to have completely different appearances on a wide angle lens than they would on a normal focal length, which is widely considered to be 50 millimeter. So if you look better in phone photos, I'm sorry, you probably don't look exactly like that in real life. So for a general example, I shot the last 2 videos on this YouTube channel on a wide angle lens, 2 or 3 feet away from the lens, which means the closer you get to a wide angle lens, it's going to keep the stuff farther away less distorted and the stuff closer to it more distorted. So if you have an angular face, for instance, have you ever seen somebody's profile and they look something like this, which is a bit more flat on the side, or you have somebody with a more angular, more defined face, or something like this that's a little bit more angular? When you compare these in wide angle pictures or wide angle video, they're going to look entirely different. People with angular faces, the closer you get to the camera, it's going to look super weird. Now for me, I have a more angular face. I'm not very flat as a profile. And so when I get closer to the camera, it makes me look more like that one fish from the one movie I can't remember the name of. So you look really goofy. So some of the best examples are if you follow my Instagram at Dom Lazat with no E, you can see photos of me shot on a wide array of different lenses, and most of them are going to be between 35 and 50 mil because that's how you would normally see somebody in real life, except for the other ultra wide angle photos that are more on the artistic side that I do from time to time. So there's 2 main fixes that you can do for content or photos or whatever that you shoot on a wide angle lens. The first major thing you can do is back up from the camera. So the further away you are from a wide angle lens, the less distorted it's going to be. When you're taking pictures of yourself, it's very easy because you can just simply move farther away from the camera. And if what you're looking for is maybe a close-up shot, but you're shooting it on a wide angle, all you have to do is back up and then crop in editing, and that'll get rid of most of the distortion that you're seeing. There still will be a little bit, but it'll be much less drastic. The other main thing you can do, and probably you should do them together, is make sure that the thing you want to be normal and not distorted needs to be in the middle of the frame. If I am shooting on a wide angle lens, if you put your head up towards here or up towards towards one of the corners, like over here, that will make your head very distorted and you'll look really, really weird. And that goes for the bottom of the frame down here and the corners over here. But basically, one of the best things you can do shooting on wide angle, and why most people on Instagram shoot on their cameras, like their phone camera, but they back up and they get like a whole fit, is because it doesn't distort the way you look. So aside from like general fixes, here's something I think is really important to recognize. Everybody compares themselves to others and also compares themselves maybe a little bit too harshly. So with that in mind, like everybody still wants to look good in photos or in video or on Instagram or something like that. And everybody wants to take cool pictures and be attractive. You don't need to look the best, you need to look your best. So that's something people really forget about. When somebody else is looking at you, looking at your photos, they're not comparing you to other people. I'd hope not. If they are, they're terrible people. But they're not actively comparing you side by side against somebody else, right? So people aren't going to say like, oh, this guy looks worse than that person, or whatever. People are just generally going to say like, okay, this person looks really good in this picture compared to what their image is of how you normally look. So if you're looking better than how you would normally look, then people think you look good. And that's something that I feel like us as individuals, we forget about. We get kind of wrapped up in the idea that we need to look better than this person, and we need to look like a supermodel or something else. Like, it's just not really that important, and people just don't care that much. Which is like a perfect segue into another concept that's really important to remember, which is the spotlight effect. So you may feel like you don't look as good as you think you should or compared to other people, but you need to also remember that people don't often care as much as you think they do. And so even though you may feel like you're not looking your best on a certain day or in a certain picture or something like that, people are not comparing you or frankly even looking at your picture long enough to even notice. And that's something that people forget, is that, people really don't care that much about the things you're doing or how you look. Like, it's always nice to catch up on what people are doing and be like actively engaged with people. But there's been a few studies actually on the spotlight effect. Your perception of how much people care about something you're doing is much more heightened than the actual perceived value from other people. If I expect like, okay, I look really bad in this picture, nobody's gonna like it, what actually happens is completely different, because people don't actually care to the degree that you think they do. Here's a graph that'll help you kind of understand that. But basically, you assume that people will care at like this amount, but what they actually care at is like this amount. It's something we forget about all the time in content creation or in photos or just living our daily lives. There's tons of applications for it. People are too consumed living their own lives to care so much about what you do. Now, obviously, there are things that you can do to improve your appearance if you actually truly believe that you look worse than you normally would. And that's totally valid. But you should also consider the points that I've said in this video, because a lot of the times something that you're experiencing probably falls under that. And how you look in real life is not actually the same as the stuff that is in front of you that you think looks bad. I probably shouldn't scratch my eye on camera. It's gonna get all red. People don't care very much, right? Unless I look like I'm dying. Then maybe they'll care. The best thing that I can recommend that I've been doing in the past couple weeks is that if you feel like you don't look super good in a photo or in a video or something like that, the first thing you should do is just put it away for a day, go do something else, come back and edit it, or come back and post it in a day, and then see how you feel at that point. If you still feel like you don't look super good in that photo, then maybe what you can do is show it to a friend or show it to a family member or something like that, and just get a second opinion. I think you'll find most of the time when you do that, the people come back and they say like, oh, you look great in this photo, or you look better than you think you do. You should totally post that. And that's what mostly would happen. You should always trust the opinion of your friend better than your opinion of how you look. Although you may see yourself more than your friend would see you, your friend actually sees you in a non-mirrored, normal day-to-day basis. So they probably have a better understanding of how you actually look in real life. Trust me, although we sometimes think we look bad for whatever reason, you probably do not look as bad as you think you do. Remember, if you don't look good in a photo or in a video for whatever reason, that doesn't mean that you look bad. And you can always retake a photo. What you really don't want is for something so small and so like unrealistic to really mess up your perception, your idea of how you actually look. Because most of the time, a photo or a video is not going to be a great representation of how you look in real life, and probably it's going to look worse than you actually do. So congratulations, you do look better than you think you do. Pictures are just single frames, and you have to remember that videos and in real life, you can normally move around and get to positions where you think you look better. And in real life, it's a bit more fluid. Your attractiveness or how you look in general is going to be better because you're a moving object. You're a living human being. You're not just a frame. So keep in mind, even though you might not look as good as you want in a photo, in a video, in whatever, one bad video, one bad picture, you know, that should not change how you feel about yourself. And I know that's a hard thing to understand, but it's something you have to strive to. So if I helped you feel a little bit better about some of your photos or some of your content, or if you learned anything from this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. I'm doing a whole lot of productivity and lifestyle content on here. And as I improve in my daily life, I'm trying to help others improve in whatever aspect it is. So if you enjoy that and you want to see some other kinds of content, just leave something in the comments and I read them all the time. So I'm really happy that you're here, and I really hope that you feel better about your photos or your content or how you look in real life, and really just don't let that ruin how you feel. But yeah, leave stuff in the comments, pop into my Instagram every once in a while, and I'll see you next time.
I should start by letting you